Hello. For today's episode I thought we'd have a look at getting all the lighting working, and as you saw I fitted all the lights last time, got most of the fiddle yard finished apart from the lighting and the wires to connect it to the back. So that's where I'm really going to go. So as you can see, the wiring is quite basic. Let me see if I can get a better view for it. So what I do have is just on here. I've got some connectors. I'm using these type of connectors, and these were actually available on Amazon, and I use these quite a lot for just connecting the boards together. You do have to obviously, I use a socket on either side, and then I just solder some wires together and just create basically a socket and a plug on each end. I'd just say a plug on each end and a socket on each of the boards. It's going to come quite confusing on this one because I've got two, so I'm going to need to number these just so I don't get them in the wrong place, because obviously get them in the wrong place it's going to put points power to the lighting circuit and vice versa. So the first job I want to do is just put in the bus wire, and I use this copper tape. It's actually made for gardens and keeping the slugs off your pot plants. So I want to just use this, but I tend to cut it in half, and as you can see, it just works quite nicely as a bus bar. So I'm going to get this cut to size. I want to go along there and then up there, and then I can get all these wires nicely tidy and looking nice and neat. So as you can see, I've now got the lighting bus in place, and I just need to then start getting all the wires on. So I've just connected the positive and negative that will get fed from the main board, and I'm just going to solder up the lights now. And because these are 3-volt lights, you really want like a minimum of a 1k resistor. If you don't like them too bright, put like a 2k resistor on. And that'll just drop it down to roughly about 2 volts, something like that, but it'll still give enough light out. I always test them with a 1k and a 9-volt battery, and that gave me quite a dull look, so I'm going to just be adding the 1k to these initially. If I don't like it being that bright, I'll then add another 1k resistor. So I'll just check my soldering iron. So before you solder on anything, just make sure you tin what you're soldering first. It just makes the soldering process so much easier. And I'm just going to get the wire on there. And my iron went off then for some reason. And I'll just go and get some resistors. So I've got my resistors here. One good thing to do is if you want a lot of different type resistors, you can buy these packs. They're quite useful, depending on what projects you're going to do. But if you're just going to be using lighting, you really want to be just using these. But you want to just make sure that what you are getting is a 1k resistor, and so you want to be looking at brown, black and red. So your brown would be 1, black would be 0 and red would be the multiplier. So obviously your multiplier is 1000, is it? 100, sorry. Yeah, so that would give us a 1k resistor. And I'm just I don't know if that's actually going to come out on the camera, but yes. There is a second way. Let me just show you that as well. So let me, I'm not sure if this is going to actually work on the camera, but you should be able to see the brown, black, red there. And if you still not sure on that, just use a multimeter, stick it on ohms, and then we can go across and we should see roughly 1k, so like 980. They do have a tolerance, and obviously I've had this multimeter a long time, but it all works fine. So just need to warm the iron back up. Quite useful, these little battery irons. They don't get the hottest, so sometimes you do have to put it on the maximum temperature if you're soldering on this copper bus. But it's quite a useful piece of equipment. So let me just tin this. The problem is now all the solder is lead free, where in the past they're all lead and it was a better melting point, solder flowed better. But as lead is dangerous, we don't use it anymore. And I just need to make sure it's tinned. This way you burn your fingers. Now if you like, you can add a bit of sleeving. I don't need to, because you've already got exposed there, and it's only low voltage, 12 volt, so it's not going to cause any harm. Like I said though, if you want it lower, put a 2k resistor on, but a 1k should give you 3 volts, depending on the LED as well, depending on how much current it's going to draw. But I'm going to solder the rest of these in, and then we'll start to come and test it. Right, that's all those wired up, and I'm going to give it a quick test just with a 9-volt battery. So I'm just going to flip this back over. I'm hoping everything all works. So it's positive, negative, and I'm not sure if you can see all that on camera. Coming on, that's about the right brightness I want, so I'm just going to measure what voltage we do have, and just see what voltage drop I've got, because I think I'm going to need 2k resistor, because I don't really want them to be really bright. I want them to be a little bit brighter than what they are now, but not much brighter than that. So I'm going to add another extra 1k resistor. So I'm going to do that, and then get this wired up onto the 12 volt circuit to the main. Right, as I've now got all the wiring done on the fiddle yard board, I've made the 2 interconnecting cables for the boards. I just need to do the lighting circuit on the main board now. So that's what I'm going to do next. It's exactly the same process that I've done just on here. Use the copper bus, and I'm going to use, I've got a mix actually on there. I've used some 12 volt LED lights. It's already got the resistors built in, and I've used some 3 volts. So I've just got to remember which ones I've used in the buildings. So but you'll see those very shortly once we come to start testing this on the mains. Well, when I say mains, I mean 12 volt. Right, time to get the mainboard wired. And I've got my copper strips, just need to chop these in half. Then I'm going to get the bus in place. So I've got lights on one of the buildings from here. That's going to need resistors. That is 12 volt and that one's 12 volt, that end. So I'm going to just get these in. There'll be just a lighting bus that goes just along here. I've sort of secured all these wires down with just a little bit of PVA glue. So I'm going to have to work out how to get the wires around that and underneath. So, but yeah, and then I'll put a small bit of bus here and then just join them together. And that's the plan. I want it as neat as possible. I've got my wire in, so that's just on a socket that I've put in already. So I'm just going to get that wired up, and I've tried to make all this wiring as neat as possible. I've also changed the CDU unit. The other one that I had wasn't powerful enough, you know, it only got a couple of caps. Sometimes when you flicked it, it didn't always give a full positive swing the first, so you had to do it the second time. So I wanted to swap that one for a better unit. Right, so anyway, I'm going to get all this completely wired up now, and then we can start to do a bit of testing. Right, I've got all the lighting bus on. All the buildings are now lit. I've only got 4 buildings on here at the moment that's actually got some lights in. I've got another building to finish, and I'm just going to add some lights into that one. Although that's going to be tricky because it's a low relief one, and so the wires would end up about here. So I'm going to have to drill down and hopefully see if I can pull them through. That's if I want to put lights in it, you know. But let's get the board back on its and get the fiddly yard connected so I can then test all these lights and you can see them working. And then we can do some more improvements. Well, as you can see, I now have lights in the buildings. I do have a light in this building as well, and I've got all the street lights on the bridge. So all nicely quite subtle. I will drop the light level in here so we can see, but I've also started to add a bit of detail into the one of the sheds. The reason why I've added the detail in now because I wouldn't be able to get it in once I fixed the building down, and I needed to fix it down so I could get the lighting circuit in there. But there is some boxes in there, obviously a couple of old boats needing repair, and just one of the repairmen. So I think I'll just drop the light so give a better sort of a view. Maybe not. I think that's probably just too dark now. Let me. Okay, so I need to have a bit of light in the room. It's just gone sort of quite dark now, you know. But I think that's just enough. I've got another building that I want to put on here, so that's going to be the only last building, and it's a similar sort of style, and that's a low relief that's going to have some steps down from this walkway as well. So that's still a work in progress, and I think I'm going to start getting a bit more detail on the layout and how I've connected the boards. So it's just a simple method really. I probably, in hindsight, I should have just used one DIN connector and then had just one cable. It would have made it a lot easier. So you just have to remember to connect 1 to 1 and 2 to 2. 1 is the track, 2 is the track power, and 1 is the lighting circuit. And I think before I really get carried away on detailing, I'm going to do a little bit of running on the layout. Right, I thought I'd just do a little bit of a running session, a bit of a test. I'm just using just analog at the moment, and I've just got one locomotive, just a couple of wagons, and so on there you would have enough to do a little bit of shunting. I haven't got any uncoupling systems yet, so let's go. I think I could do with just giving the track a little bit better clean as well. So it just fits with 2 wagons there with a small shunter. So that was luck more than I hadn't fully. I'd sort of measured it, but I don't think I'd measured it as well as I could have done. And the fiddle yard's just big enough to have a couple of wagons and a small shunter. So I thought we'd just go through some of the details I've been working on. So as you can see, I've got all the harbour railings all done. Just had to paint these in white. I'm going to just touch a little bits on them to just give it a little bit of rust feel. Obviously we've got some people having a look at the view of the sea, and obviously this could be a bit more detail on the bridge now. I've still got to put some sort of weathering a bit more, so, and I've used these grass tufts, but I've got a lot more work on that. We've got some people sort of loading parcels there. Obviously got some forklift, somebody checking the pallets there. I've installed a dock crane for unloading the cargoes, and I've added some crew onto the fishing boat. So we've got Captain Birdseye. Just a little bit of a joke, because obviously I've got Findus and which are sort of Birdseye products. But yeah, I've just thought, getting a few fishermen on there. I've put a small fishing boat, a small rowing boat I should say, just by the harbour steps, and I've added some lobster pots and buoys there. These are all 3D printed, and obviously I've started to use some of the really dirty rolling stock, that's I've weathered up, and still a bit more weathering to do on all the layout yet, so that's to come, I think. And I've still got one building yet to fit. I still haven't finished building yet, so and I'm just going to show you a little bit more, but also I've put some up-timed boats on the layout. So this section here is quite bare, so I need something to fill that, and that's where the last building is going to go. So I don't want to put too much more on it, because it just starts to look a bit too cluttered. So but it's sort of getting there. So I think the next step is to just get that last building on, and then I can really run the layout, and I think there's not much left to do. I think I've got some seagulls that I'm just about to start painting, so I'm going to add those in, and I've got some mooring posts that I need to add on to as well. Obviously at the moment the boat got nothing to tie up to, so I need to just sort that out. But I'll start to get those on next. As you can see, I've just put the last building on. I measured that up on the other board, so it does stick out a little bit. But the idea of that is because the bridge is at a slight angle, this then actually matches up with all the brickwork on there. I've had a little bit of fencing just at the back, just to put a barrier sort of between the back scenes, and obviously because the back scene's all grass, I needed to sort of make a distinguished between the concrete and the grass. So I've just done a bit of texture on there, just waiting for some of that glue to finish drying. Slightly wet still, but virtually dry. So I'm going to join both the boards back together, and then do a little bit of running again. Actually, I'm just thinking about putting an extra street light or a sort of yard light just here or out there maybe. I wasn't sure whether to put any more along here, but I think just that one there will be sufficient. If I don't like it, I can always put a bit of grass texture to cover the hole up. So I'm going to do that. So let's think about there. I'll clean all the swarf up afterwards, just vacuum that up. I was thinking something like that, so I'm just going to I think I've drilled the a 2mm hole there, and I needed a 1.5mm, but sort of have a light there, so I'm going to get that done before I do any running and join the boards up. And there we have the finished scene. So you can see all the bridge there. I've got all the lighting how I want it, so you can see how that new building fitted in, and you just see just at the end there, if it will focus in, just behind that wagon was the new lamppost that I've just put in. So that actually looks quite good, just sat there. Just gives you that little bit more detail. So let's have a look at some locomotives, action. So here we go. I'm just running this on analog at the moment again. I've tested it on analog and digital. And there really is just enough room to do a little bit of shunting around this small layout. And the fiddle just big enough to let the models disappear off the scene nicely. And I wasn't very controlled there on the DC. It actually controlled much better on the DCC. So, but I haven't got a weathered loco fitted with the DCC at the moment, so I'm just using this weathered Hornby 08. I think we're going a little bit quick there into the siding. Hi, thank you for watching this series on Westbank Quay. I think really I've got to the stage where I've not got a lot more left to do on it. There's going to be just minor upgrades, a little bit more weathering maybe, but I think really I'm going to start having a look at another project. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this series, and I'll see you on the next project. Have a good evening or a good rest of the day and take care.